I want to say thank you everyone again for joining us today. Good morning, and we're glad that you're here with us. Welcome to our webinar on how to track legislation in Iowa, hosted by the Iowa Secretary of State's Office and the Legislative Services Agency. My name is Ashley, and I'm the Business Services Outreach Specialist here at the Iowa Secretary of State's Office. So we are going to be recording this webinar for future use. Your name and details are going to be hidden from other participants, but we will be sending out the recording to you after the webinar. So that you can reference it again and just watch it whenever you'd like to. We will also have a moderated Q&A session at the conclusion of the webinar for about 10 to 15 minutes. So please feel free to post your questions in the chat box, but make sure that it's the chat box that's labeled Q&A. That way that'll ensure that things run smoothly, and we'll do our best to answer as many of those as possible. Also, today's webinar topic is one that we know is of high importance to you as business owners, and that we saw high interest in through a survey that our office conducted previously. We are glad that you're joining us today to learn how to use LSA's resources to stay in the loop on legislation that could intersect with or impact your business during the 2024 legislative session and beyond. So with that, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen and introduce our presenters.
Hey, Ashley, real quick, could you?
So today, oh yes, yeah.
Okay, sorry. She's just gonna head over to Matt's office. So.
You're fine.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So again, thank you to our presenters from Legislative Services Agency for joining us today. Today we have Matt Eaton on the call with LSA. And then we also have Paul, Don, and Emily Kramer. So Paul has been with the Legislative Services Agency for 2 years now. His responsibilities include providing technical support for legislators and LSA staff and managing the LSA help desk. He is also part of the project management team, helping change and grow LSA's applications or processes for the better. And then Emily has been with the Legislative Services Agency for over 19 years. Her responsibilities include managing training for LSA staff, legislators, lobbyists, executive branch departments, and the general public. She is a part of both the help desk team, which provides technical assistance, and the LSA project team, which works to create and improve internal software and the legislative website. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. And thank you again.
All right, thank you.
Paul, did you want me to do a little introduction here?
Yeah, if you wanted to go ahead.
Hi, all. My name is Emily Kramer, and Paul and I are going to show you some aspects of the website today. The thing I want to point out the most is we've been given kind of a limited time here. Generally, when I train the website, it can be 2.5 hours-ish. So we are going to barely just scratch the surface of some of these tools. But as we go, we are going to try to point out documentation and videos that are posted online that you can use to get some more detailed information after the training. If you have any questions as we go through, please don't hesitate to ask. Ashley will go ahead and read those off from the chat at the end of the class. Take it away, Paul. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. Let me go ahead and get my screen shared here. Give me 1 second. All right. Screen look good?
Yes, it looks good.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just get started going through BillBook. To access BillBook, you want to go to our legislative website, just legis.iowa.gov. You'll see a quick search icon here for bills. You're able to enter in the bill number if you know that specifically. Or if you don't know the bill number, you can enter in a keyword that might be associated with the bill itself. You'll notice this little link up here in the top right kind of is a video icon. If you click that, it will take you to YouTube, which kind of gives you a more detailed description of using the quick search. Like Emily said, we don't have a lot of time to cover over everything. Another way you can also access BillBook is just by clicking the BillBook icon under popular links. If you click that, it will take you to our BillBook section. Here on the BillBook section, you'll be able to browse by category for a specific legislation. If you don't see something you're kind of looking for something a little bit more specific, if you click more, it kind of gives you a detailed list. So you can narrow down a little bit further if you want to. Over on the left-hand side, you'll see our bill information tab. Just to the right of that, there's a little PDF icon. If you click that, that will take you to our BillBook documentation. So that kind of gives you a run through of the entire BillBook system, a lot more thorough and in-depth, so feel free to check that out on your own time. Below that, you'll see you can choose which General Assembly you want to look for a specific piece of legislation. Currently, it's just set on the 90th GA, which is our latest, but you can go back all the way down if you wanted to. Below that, you also enter in the name of the bill if you know it, and below it kind of gives you an idea of what you want to enter in there, and below that is a keyword where, like on the other screen, you can enter in like fish, pig, anything that kind of is similar to the bill itself. So we're going to go ahead and enter in a bill. And so you can see once I entered in House File 11 there over on the right, the bill kind of populated and a lot more information showed up over here on the left. On the left-hand side, you'll be able to see the different versions of the bill. You usually see introduced, and if it makes it through, you'll see enrolled. But since this one's just introduced, that's all you'll see there. Below that, you'll be able to see the bill history. If you actually click on this, it will open up a new tab, which kind of takes you through the whole history of the specific legislation you're looking for. One thing to really note is that this specific piece of legislation changed from House File 11 to House File 135, but a good way to kind of keep track of the bill itself is you'll notice this LSB number 1483. This does not change. So you'll actually be able to track this legislation with this 4-digit LSB number. So you can see on January 26th, it actually changed from House File 11 to House File 135. So if we go back, you'll also be able to see any amendments for the specific bill if there were one, any fiscal notes and over information. Below that, you can see again our LSB number there, so you can track the bill, floor managers, and a few other different things you can browse around and take a look at. Over here on the right, you'll be able to see a few different options to choose from. These top and bottom just kind of take you to the top and bottom of the bill. Below that, you'll see click to view the bill as a PDF, and that just opens it up as a PDF you can print off or whatever. And then below that, it just views the bill as a RTF. You'll also be able to print the bill if you click print up here in the top right hand corner. If you click that, you'll be able to choose which version of the bill you want to print. So it's just introduced, so that's automatically selected. Any amendments you want to do, and so forth. That kind of wraps through BillBook. The one final thing I'll kind of go through, which Emily will touch on in a second, is this add to collection. So if you have a legislative account, you'll be able to add this specific piece of legislation to that collection, which Emily will touch on here in just a little bit. Go back. So next we're going to kind of talk over different subscriptions. This allows you to subscribe to various pieces of publication that we put out so you can keep in the loop and updated on anything that we put out. To get there, you just go to our legislative website again. On the main screen, down in the bottom, in this black ribbon, you'll notice the subscribe link. If you click that, it'll take you to our subscription page. From there, you're able to choose any of the following categories to kind of refine your search down a little bit more. It's the same thing over on here on the left hand side, so don't get confused about that. They kind of both lead to the same place. So if you were to click on one, since I'm already signed in with an account, it's going to say my email address subscribing is right there. If you weren't signed in, down at the bottom, you'll have an option to put in the specific email address you want to sign up for. So just to subscribe, what you have to do is you'll click on a specific category that you're interested in. Since I'm signed in, it tells me that I'm automatically going to be subscribed for this. No further actions necessary. If you did not have an account, it will ask you down here at the bottom, once you put in your email and click subscribe, you'll get an email to your account. And from your email account, you'll have to manually okay that. It doesn't automatically do that. A few subscriptions that I do want to point out that are handy all around is to keep up with legislation is under legislative subscriptions, you'll see the daily debate calendars for the House and the Senate. Under legislation, you'll see a few here that we kind of recommend. And then finally, down here under the bottom, we recommend website announcements, just so you can kind of keep up with anything that we point out there. As far as subscriptions goes, it's pretty simple, point and click. Like I said, you'll get an email if you do not have an account where you'll have to then confirm that you want to either subscribe, or if you go back in and you want to unsubscribe, it's the same method where you just unclick, down at the bottom, you'll put in your email address, and then you'll get an email confirming you want to unsubscribe. If you do have an account, though, as you can see, it just automatically unsubscribes you from that service. So I think that's about it for BillBook and subscriptions. Emily, did you have anything you wanted to add? Or
yes, a couple other things to point out. On this page, as Paul mentioned, you will see throughout our website these little YouTube play icons. When you see those, that indicates that there is a video tutorial for this section. So if you were to click on this, it would open up a YouTube tutorial that walks you through subscribing, creating an account, and also walks you through the Bill and Rules Watch application, which I'm going to touch on here in a second. Again, anytime you see a PDF icon next to something, that generally indicates written instructions that will pull up for the tool that it is next to. The other thing we wanted to point out, go ahead, Matt.
Paul, if you can go back to the legislative subscriptions. So Paul mentioned the daily debate calendars for both the Senate and the House. And what those are is that indicates a bill that they are planning to debate. Now, just because it's on the calendar doesn't mean they're going to debate it immediately. It may be on the calendar for weeks, and they may or may not debate it. But before a bill is going to be debated, it will be on that calendar. So that's one that a lot of people always ask us, when is this bill going to be debated? And we don't know, but it does have to be on the daily debate calendar before it will be debated. So that is a good indication that they plan to debate that bill. So that is why we recommend those.
And then the other two Paul mentioned, the daily legislation. This is basically what we used to put out as a bill packet. It contains all of the bills, amendments, resolutions, and study bills that are filed on a given day. So you can choose a date, and it will allow you to, when you subscribe, it will give you a PDF every day showing the previous day's action. And the same goes for session daily, whereas opposed to bills, amendments, resolutions that you get with the daily legislation bill packet, for session daily, you're going to get actions that took place. So bills that were voted out of committee, bills that were withdrawn, things of that nature will be on there. And again, it will always be one day behind. So you will get the PDF in the morning. We have a process that runs overnight that will show you all the information from the previous day when you subscribe. And then as Paul mentioned at the bottom, there's one called website announcements. When we publish the new Iowa code, for example, or we have new tools available on our website, we always try to put out an announcement. When you subscribe to that, you will get an email when any of those are published on our site. And one other thing to point out, since Paul's right at the bottom here, if you notice in the lower left-hand corner, there is a website address, or sorry, there's an email address for the webmaster. This is a great place where you can write in if you have questions or issues using our website. And then directly next to that, you'll see our help desk phone number. We are open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. I'm sorry, 7:30 to, is it 7:30 to 4:30? Yeah, 7:30 to 4:30, sorry about that. And you can call us anytime. Again, if you have questions, something isn't working for you on the website, you need to know how to locate something, we're always around to help. So that is always at the bottom of our website, so you don't have to remember it. And I think that's all we had to mention with that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now, and we will move on to the Bills and Rules Watch application. that's not, why isn't it opening up my, oh. I was gonna say, I do Chrome, it pops me into this. Hold on one second, it's not letting me type in an address. Am I gonna have to go over to Paul's now? I think I might need to be made the presenter because I don't appear to be able to share my screen.
Okay, I'll take a look at that really quick. Thank you, and sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. All right, I think I'm just gonna go over to Paul's now. So, having technical difficulties on this laptop, so I will be right over, Paul.
Okay. I was gonna say I changed the setting, so it should, but I don't know. Maybe there's something else.
One other thing I'll point out while we're waiting for Emily, one of the things that Paul had mentioned, if you're signed in, you get additional functionality. And we did want to point out anybody can create an account on our website. If you create an account, then it will give you the ability to do the bills and rules watch, like Emily is going to show. And it does give you some additional functionality. So there is no cost. Anybody can create an account on our website. And it looks like Emily is about ready to go.
And then I think it would be helpful if one of you could put the help desk email address or and phone number in the chat for everyone. And thank you for pointing that out.
Yep, we can absolutely do that. As I mentioned, the phone number is right down here on the website. Matt will go ahead and type in the help desk email address, which is just help.desk@legis.iowa.gov.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Is everyone seeing the website? Hello?
See the
I did momentarily, but
screen.
Okay,
now
how about
I'm
now?
right now.
there. Yes.
But
Okay. Is it showing the website?
Yes, you're showing the website now.
Okay, thank you. So again, back on the website, I did want to point out, as Matt mentioned, how to create an account. So if you are on our website, you can click on applications, or as Paul mentioned, on the subscribe page, if you were to click on the Bills and Rules Watch application, that would take you here. We already have accounts, so it's going to autofill with our account information here. However, if you don't have an account, this is where you can come and create an account. All you would do, as Matt mentioned, it's free to anybody in the public. You click on create an account, you're going to enter in the required information, which is just your name, email address, and a password that you create yourself. You'll confirm that you're not a robot by doing a little CAPTCHA. You will agree to the terms of use. And then at that point, the create account button will become enabled. You can click on it. And as Paul mentioned, at that point, you will receive an email with a link. You will click the link to confirm the account creation. And at that point, you will be able to sign in and access the tools on the website. So I'm going to go ahead and sign into my account here so we can see what that looks like. The other good thing about having an account on the legislative website is, as Paul showed you in BillBook, it does unlock some additional functionality. So it'll allow you to quickly, for example, add content from the website to a collection in the Bills and Rules Watch application. It also works really well for lobbyists. They can declare on bills directly from BillBook, things like that. So if you do have an account, it's always a good idea to sign in. You can tell that you're signed in because you will see your name up here in the top black. And again, you will get access to some additional functionality. But right now we're going to focus on our BillBook, Bills and Rules Watch application. Again, you do have the video here that will walk you through the subscription process as well as Bills and Rules Watch. And again, you have this little PDF icon here that will launch written instructions for using the Bills and Rules Watch application. The first time you sign in, and I've already signed in a couple times, so you won't see that, but the first time you sign in, you will see kind of steps along the top that'll say step 1, step 2, step 3, and will essentially walk you through creating your first collection. So I'm just going to pull up our instructions here so you can kind of see what that looks like. And right here, it talks about it. So it's going to walk you through and say, step 1, create a collection. Click the plus sign to create a collection, and it'll walk you through naming your collection and then adding content to your collection. The great thing about this tool is whatever is in your collection, you will receive email notifications about when any action takes place on the various legislation or topics that you have subscribed to. But as you can see over here along the left, I have some collections that I have already created. So all you would have to do is click on a collection, and then you'd want to add content to it. You can see down here, it's going to add you to it's going to allow you to add content to these collections. Couple of different options here. You'll see that there are several tabs. The first one is legislation. If you want to subscribe to a bill by bill number, very straightforward. Simply type in the bill number. HF1, for example, would be House File 1. You say add document, and it quickly adds that bill to your collection. Now, anytime something happens with regard to House File 1, I will receive an email notification about that. If you are unsure of the bill that you want, you can click on this little arrow here, and this will then drop down and show you all of the bills within the current Legislative General Assembly. We are starting the second year of a GA this year, so this will contain all of the information, all of the legislation from last year, and all of the legislation from this year is considered current legislation. But as you can see, you're not limited to just House and Senate files, which are bills. You can also subscribe to joint resolutions, concurrent resolutions, and then study bills, which are where the bills start before they actually become House and Senate files. So you can subscribe to all of these. You can also subscribe to multiples at once by simply holding down your control key and clicking to select as many as you want. You'll see up here that it goes ahead and adds them with a little comma in between. You can also type those in. And then you would just say add document, and all of those pieces of legislation would be added to your collection. And as I scroll down here, you can see the contents of my collection in the lower pane. But what Paul talked about earlier in BillBook was the fact that bills tend to change number throughout session. So if I were to have subscribed to House File 11, for example, as we talked about, House File 11 then became House File 135. Once the action stops on House File 11, you're no longer going to receive information on it, even though the bill in another form is basically continuing through the legislative process. So what you'll want to do, the best way to go about it, is to subscribe to that LSB number that we showed in BillBook. And I believe that was 1483. So you can type in the 4-digit LSB number or source version of the bill. You can say add rule. And now anytime a piece of legislation comes out with that source version, regardless of if the bill number changes over and over, you're still going to be notified of that via email, which is a great tool. So we definitely recommend, if you're going to be tracking legislation, that you use the source by LSB option as opposed to the by bill number option, just because it kind of protects you and future proofs it. So in case that bill number changes, you're still going to be notified of those actions. There's some additional options here. You can subscribe to legislation by sponsor. So if there's a particular senator or representative whose bills you want to see, this is alphabetical. A question we get quite frequently is, where are the representatives? The senators are listed alphabetically at the top. And as you scroll down, you'll get to the representatives listed alphabetically towards the bottom. Again, you can make multiple selections in any of these windows by just holding down your control key to select multiples at once. And then when you're ready, you'd go ahead and just say add rule. And anytime a piece of legislation is sponsored by the person that I have chosen here, I'm going to get an email notification of that. There's also the ability to subscribe by department. Departments are also allowed to request bills. So any bills that they sponsor, you will receive an email about, depending on the department that you choose. And then another question we get quite frequently is the by sponsor committee and the to committee. These are slightly different subscription options. So if I were to subscribe here by sponsor, I would see all of the bills that have been sponsored by this particular committee and receive email notifications about those. As opposed to this one, where if I subscribe to committee in the to committee option, this is going to give me a list of all of the bills that have been assigned to this particular committee. So this would be bills sponsored by the committee, and this would be bills assigned to the committee, is the difference between these two. And then lastly, the last one you're going to see is this affecting Iowa Code chapter or section. If you're interested in a particular Iowa Code chapter or section, again, it gives you in grayed out text the format to enter. So if you're interested in Iowa Code chapter 26, as you can see, when I enter a chapter, it allows me to select subchapters here. I would just select the one that I wanted, or I could type that in either way, and then say add rule. Now, anytime a piece of legislation is going to affect that Iowa Code chapter or section, again, I will receive an email notification about that. There are some additional options here for subscription. I'm not going to go through the rulemaking option, but this would allow you to subscribe to administrative code sections. The one that's really useful to the general public is this topic versus category option. We had a project not so long ago where we basically went through all of our products and created one large indexing taxonomy across all products. So a lot of times you as the public may not know the bill number that you're looking for, but you do know a topic that the bill deals with, or perhaps a category. This would allow you to subscribe to all content related to a specific topic. For example, if I wanted to subscribe to bills relating to education, as you can see, as I start typing here, it gives me topics that I can subscribe to. You can keep it very generic, just as education, or as you can see, you can kind of make this a little bit more specific: educational leave, educational reform, what have you. You'll subscribe or choose the topic that you want here. This is a very long list of topics, as you can imagine. So to navigate to different sections, you can click on these little letters to get to that section of the list. Again, you can either type in the topic field and do it that way, or you can check the boxes next to the ones that you want to subscribe to. And as you can see, you can select as many as you wish. When you choose your topic or topics and you click the add rule button, it is going to ask you what kind of content you want to subscribe to. By default, it is going to give you all legislation, all rulemaking documents, and all publications relating to this topic. Maybe you're only interested in legislation. You'd simply uncheck the boxes next to the ones that you don't want and click the save button. At that point, anytime a piece of legislation is introduced and is tagged with the topic of education, I will get an email notification about that, as well as when any action takes place on a bill with the topic of education tagged. So it's a very, very handy tool. And it's definitely one that we recommend you use. Lobbyists are really big fans of this, as well as a lot of reporters. It kind of gives you a one and done thing where you can subscribe to something and just receive email notifications about them, regardless of whether you've typed in the right bill number or LSB number. And you can do this as many times as you wish. So maybe you said that you only wanted to see legislation. You can always reopen this and subscribe to rulemakings or publications as well at a later time. This subscription is completely your baby. You can do whatever you want with it. You can change whatever different settings you want to. You can change the amount of times you receive the email. You can change how many actions are in the email. You can export this content to Excel. Again, I definitely advise you to watch the video. I did try to make it as brief as possible, and it's still about an 18-minute video because this tool has a lot of power and a lot of functionality. The other question that we get quite frequently is, what is the difference between a topic and a category? And they're pretty similar in that whatever you subscribe to, you'll get everything related to that topic or category. The real difference is that a topic search is a more narrow search. So you're going to get less results with a topic search or subscription than you would get with a category search or subscription. But it functions pretty much the same way to subscribe to a category. You'll simply choose this ribbon here. You have these little, it's organized slightly differently than the other one, whereas that one was an alphabetical list. This one is more hierarchical. So you can subscribe to, for example, agriculture, or if I hit the little arrow next to this, I can kind of drill down, and maybe within agriculture, I'm only interested in livestock. I can subscribe to just this subcategory here, as opposed to subscribing to all of agriculture, which if I were to do that would give me all of these subcategories underneath it. Again, when you click to add the rule, it is going to ask you what content you want to subscribe to. Legislation, rulemaking, and publications are selected by default. Again, if you are only interested in legislation, which most people are, you could just unselect the ones that you don't want, hit save. And now anytime something is introduced or happens with a piece of legislation, or a piece of legislation, because that's what I chose, that it's tagged with this particular category, you're going to be notified via email. So again, a very, very useful tool. The other thing I wanted to point out is, and this is especially useful for lobbyists, but a lot of people like this feature, if there is a committee meeting that deals with any of the bills that you have subscribed to in your collection, you will see the notification here. It'll show you the time, which will be the current day that the committee is taking place, as well as the location. So you can see that very quickly here if there is a committee scheduled on a bill that you've subscribed to on a particular day. As you scroll down here, you'll see that it will show you all of the rules that you have created. Again, it's the difference between saying add rule or add document. Rules will essentially add content to your collection. So for example, because I subscribe to LSB number 1047, anytime something comes out with that LSB number, I will receive an email notification of that. Again, even though bill numbers may change. Here is where you can see that I have subscribed to various topics or categories. And again, anytime a piece of legislation comes out with that topic or category, I will receive an email notification of that, and it will add that piece of legislation to my collection. So as you scroll down here, this will show you all of the documents that are in your collection. And again, I'm not really going to get into that because we don't have a lot of time here, but there are some additional features here that you can use. One of them being there is a little arrow here. So you can quickly get to, for example, the full bill history of a piece of legislation right from within this tool without having to exit out and go back into our BillBook application. There's also an option here to create a star. And what this essentially does is just moves this document in your list to the top of your list. So for example, we had lobbyists say, yes, I'm subscribed to all of this legislation, but I'm really interested in these particular pieces of legislation. So that's why we introduced this star. You can always have those sort to the top of your list. So if I were to do a refresh after starring some of these in my list, and then I did a refresh and I scroll back down, you'll see all of the ones with the star are sent to the top of my list, so I can quickly get to those without having to scroll through my entire list, which again can get quite long, especially as we're entering the second year of a GA, which will contain all of last year's legislation into this year, considering current legislation. Is there anything else you wanted to point out with this that I may have missed, Matt? I kind of just went pretty quickly.
No, I think you covered what we need to, and we're probably at about 10 minutes, from getting some questions and answers.
Correct. So the one last thing I wanted to show is our Search Legislative Documents tool. And pretty much throughout our site, you're going to see options that'll say search legislation or search Iowa code, what have you. You will see quick finds again throughout our website. Again, play icons next to these will launch a quick YouTube tutorial of how to use these tools. But pretty much throughout our website, you're going to see search. Pretty much anytime you see a search button, it is going to drop you into our Search Legislative Documents tool. It is also, the home of it is actually on our Publications tab where it says Search Legislative Documents. There's also a link for it directly on our homepage. Search Legislative Documents is here as well, but I'm just going to go from the home of the Publications tab here. Again, just like in BillBook where Paul showed you earlier, you can quickly get to a category by just selecting the category here in the main pane. The big thing I want to point out here are these instructional videos. This is another one like the Bills and Rules Watch application that has a lot of functionality, and we just don't have time to cover it in the time we've been allotted here. So we did do several tutorials here in video format where you can get an overview of the tool. You can kind of get into the nitty gritty of doing an advanced search or a topic search. These are definitely tools that videos I recommend that you watch for more detailed information. But to just give you a quick demonstration of what this can do, I generally start off with a keyword search. You type in a word. By default, it is going to do current only. We find that generally people are looking for current legislation, so that is selected by default, as well as this exclude reserved. For those of you familiar, the code chapters sometimes don't have any content. They're essentially reserved chapters, which are just placeholders. So they don't have any content. So by default, we go ahead and make sure that we're only going to show you current information, and we're only going to show you chapter content that actually has content, as opposed to just being a reserved chapter. You can uncheck these as needed. Of course, your results will exponentially increase if you uncheck that current only box. This does operate on what we call stemming. So you can type in a word fish, and it is going to give you anything with that root word populating as a result. So fish, fisherman, fishing, anything with that root word is going to pull up as a result. By default, it will go ahead and search all of these various tabs on our website. So you can see that these kind of correspond to the tabs along the top of the website. If I just type in the word fish and hit search, it's going to search everything on our site. And you can see here with each one of these numbers, the amount of results that it found in each one of these sections. And this kind of looks like the topic section that the category section that I showed you in the Bills and Rules Watch application. Maybe you're only interested in legislation dealing with fish. If I were to check that box, you see how my results narrow to just showing legislation. There's also little arrows next to it that allow you to drill down even further. So maybe within legislation, you're only interested in the most current. When the new session starts, there will be a second session here, but currently we are in the first session of the 90th GA. And using these arrows, I can continue to drill down. Maybe within this, I'm only interested in enrolled bills. Maybe within the enrolled bills, I'm only interested in House files. As you can see, I can continue to drill down here, and I can narrow my results accordingly. So now I've gone from 70 plus results in legislation to just these 4 that I might be interested in. You'll notice that the keyword that you have entered will highlight throughout the text. You'll be able to see very quickly where that keyword falls. You will be able to pull up any of these bills by simply clicking the bill link here. You will be given additional format options over here along the left. And you'll notice that this opens up in a new tab. So if I close that tab, it doesn't take me away from my search results. Maybe this wasn't the one I'm looking for. I want to click the next one, and so on. So I can just keep closing that tab that opens and not lose my search results here. The last thing I wanted to point out is this generate link option. A lot of times people are doing searches on our website, and maybe you want to share the results of your search with someone without having to email them and say, okay, go to the tool and type in fish, and then under here, check this box, what have you. This makes it very simple to generate a link for these search results. So once I found the search results that I want, I simply hit this generate link button. I can copy and paste this link into an email message or a chat or what have you. And when they click on this link, they're going to see my results exactly as you see them on this page. So very, very useful tool. You will see some additional category suggestions here, some topic suggestions. If you wanted to narrow it down a little further, of course, I unerringly choose one without any results. But that's just an example of if you choose a topic, it is going to allow you to narrow your results down further. There's an advanced search feature where you can do some additional searches. And then the other one I wanted to point out here is this search tools. This again leads you to the written documentation for using this tool, which shows screenshots and is a lot more comprehensive than what we've been able to cover in the time frame. But it should help you walk you through the tool, how to use it. And again, our Bills and Rules Watch application, as well as this search legislative document research tool, are very powerful. Definitely something to be familiar with using. It'll allow you to search and find content on our website much, much easier. And I think that's all I had to mention with that. So,
Emily?
yes.
So a couple other things to point out if you go back to the
Absolutely.
search.
Sure. Yes.
and pull up some results.
Okay.
Okay. When you're signed in, you could show
yes.
how to add to my collection from there.
Got it. Yes. You can click, as I said, on the link to pull up the bill in our BillBook application in a new tab. This will allow you to pull up the bill in different formats as well. So if you want to see it in a PDF, RTF is basically a rich text formats, fancy way of saying it's going to drop the text into Word. This is very useful, however, because bills are formatted very specifically as far as spacing and how the fonts are. So pulling it up in an RTF this way will drop the content into Word exactly as it's supposed to be formatted. HTML is another option. BillBook, again, you can view this text in BillBook. And then because I am signed in, I see this additional option for collection here. As you saw on my Bills and Rules watch, I have several collections. I can add this to any of my existing collections. I can create an entirely new collection to add this to. And in that way, I can add content directly to my collections from the search engine as opposed to having to go into Bills and Rules Watch to do that.
And the other thing we can show is when you're signed in from BillBook, you also have the way to add to a collection.
Correct. Yes, as Paul showed you earlier, and it may not have made as much sense since we were at the abstract at that point, but if you are in BillBook, again, and you're signed in, you will see this add to collection button here. Again, you won't see that button unless you are signed into the website. So it's always a good idea to just create a free account, and then you kind of unlock all this additional functionality, and you're able to manage your collections however you intend.
I think you've covered it.
Okay. Oh, sorry. One last thing with that. Sorry. The other question that we get quite frequently is, how do I get to additional pages? So right now it is going to show you only 10 results per page. As I scroll down here, you can see I can go next and next, and it's going to take me to the next 10 results. So that's a question that we get quite frequently. I have 73 results. Why am I only seeing 10? That is the default selection. You can increase that as needed. And then there are different ways to search as well. We have best match usually by default. If you want to see this sorted numerically by year, by name, there are some additional options here. And again, this is all covered in those instructional videos as well as the written documentation that we post on the site for everyone. And I think that's all we have to cover until your questions.
Sorry, I was muted.
No, that's
thank you
okay.
all. Thank you. That was great information, and we already have some questions, so I'll go ahead and start reading those so that we can get some answers to those. So it looks like one question that came up is, if you subscribe by bill number and LSB number, do you get 2 notifications?
I don't believe so. No.
Great. And then we have another one. So what do I need to do with a listserv probe failure?
What that generally indicates is for some reason we are not able to get our email through to you. Generally, that could be you have a full mailbox. A lot of times it's an invalid address, or we're somehow being blocked. It should state in the text of the email what the cause is. If you have questions or concerns, or you're just not understanding, you can always forward those emails to our help desk, and we can walk you through potentially getting that problem solved.
Okay, and then is a bill from the first session that is still alive considered as current?
Yes, it is. Legislation is described as current by GA and not by session. So anything within the current GA this year and next year is considered current legislation.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
And then another one we have is, why do the bills referring to existing laws not have a hyperlink to the Iowa Code?
Matt, can you cover that one? I don't think we link with, I mean, we have in our BillBook application links to the code sections that are affected. Is that what they're asking?
Yeah, let's bring up say House File 11 again. Or yeah, that's fine too. Actually go to the House File 11 because it's going to be the introduced version of the bill.
Okay. Whoops, wrong way. All right, I'm just going to type it. So if you scroll down here to sections affected, there is actually a link right here to the code section.
Scroll on the bill itself, because I cannot remember if we actually link. No,
I don't think we do within the
we
content
don't.
of the bill. No.
Yeah, and yeah, so I don't think we actually create links in the bill itself, but we do try, as Emily pointed out, in that sections affected, you know, on the left-hand side, we try to provide the links over there.
Great, thank you. And then another thing I should mention as well. So the help desk email is going to be help.desk@legis.iowa.gov. Again, that's
Correct.
help.desk@legis.iowa.gov. And then the phone number is 515-281-6506.
Correct. And again,
So
that's
again,
right down at
515-281.
right. And again, if you forget, it's always posted in the black ribbon on our homepage.
Yep. And then I got a question earlier. Where can we find this recording? So I'll be emailing that out to everyone that registered by email. And then I'll also be posting it to our office's YouTube channel, which is at Iowa SOS Paul Pate, or just if you search Iowa Secretary of State Paul Pate on YouTube, it'll come up there as well. But again, I'll be emailing it. And then if anyone else has any other questions, please feel free to post those in the chat because we still have some time here as well.
Another thing I'll point out, as long as we're kind of just waiting, is there is an FAQ on our homepage. If you click on that, it kind of gives a list of all of the frequently asked questions we get, as well as answers. So by far our biggest is, when does the legislative session convene, for example? Clicking on a question will take you to the answer, and it will also give you the location of that information on our website, usually accompanied by a link. So for example, the session timetable is where you'd find that. Clicking on that will take you to the session timetable on our website. So another great place to go is that FAQ section here. We also have video tutorials if you just want to see all of the videos. We recently did a project with the Drake Law Library where we walked through various tools on our website. Again, all of this, we're trying to be transparent with the public. So we have a lot of video tutorials here that you can use to get information on the various tools on our website as well.
Awesome. Thank you for pointing that out. That's really helpful. And I know people that will find that useful. So thanks again for pointing that out.
Absolutely. One other thing to mention, the website does look slightly different during session than it does over the interim. Right now, we just have our quick finds, our popular links and publications, and our interim committee schedule. During session, you'll see that the format changes. You'll still have the quick finds over along the left. You'll still have the popular links and publications, but they'll move further down the page. And then it'll have 4 boxes, one side for the Senate, one side for the House. It will show exactly what is happening in real time in each chamber, and it'll show exactly what is happening in real time as far as committee meeting schedules. That updates dynamically, so as you refresh the page, you'll be able to see exactly what's happening in real time in both chambers. So a lot of the content that you need is going to be right on the homepage during session.
Thank you for that as well. So we have another question. Is the help desk number service 24/7? Would it be the best time to contact the help desk if you're in need of a quick answer? I believe that there is set hours for that, but I'll go ahead and let you.
Yes. It is Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4:30.
Thank you. I knew it was like set hours, but I just wanted to confirm that I had the right hours. So
no problem.
thanks.
But the email, I mean, you
like
can
right
email
now we
us
don't have any
anytime
more
and we'll get back to
questions.
you. Oh, sorry. The email is, of course, pretty much 24/7. So as soon as somebody sees it, we have a whole staff of us that answer the help desk email. So as soon as we see it, we'll get to it. If you email at 3 a.m., we might not get to you until 7, but it's usually pretty quick.
Okay. Another one, can anyone sign into the legislative site?
Absolutely. If you create an account, anybody can create an account on our site. So all you would have to do is just click on the applications, create an account, and yes, anyone can do it. You will have to confirm that you want the account creation. For obvious reasons, anybody can come in and type in anyone's email. So we do put that extra key in there for you confirming that you want the account.
Right.
And then,
Right now, there are no further questions.
Just to cover just this briefly again, the legislative subscriptions. Paul showed you what it looks like when you're signed in, but if you don't have an account, you can always you don't have to create an account to be able to use the subscription options. You just check the boxes for the ones that you want. You'll enter in your email address where you want to send these, prove that you're not a robot, hit that subscribe button, sends you an email with a link to confirm your subscription. Once you confirm it, you will then be subscribed to receive this content. Likewise, if you no longer want to receive this content, you're getting these emails and you no longer want them, come back here, check the boxes for the ones that you don't want, enter your email address, prove you're not a robot, hit unsubscribe, you will no longer receive those emails. So we kind of count on everybody to manage this themselves. And then there's a word of caution here that some email services will mistakenly identify this type of email as spam. So again, if you're not getting it, we advise you to check your spam or your junk folder. If you're not seeing it there, again, you can reach out to our help desk and we can try to troubleshoot with you why you're not receiving those messages.
Thank you. And then I guess I have a question. So for the bill packets that you can subscribe to be sent, do those come as what's the formatting like for that? Do those come as a PDF or
It
Word
is a
document
PDF. Yes, pretty much everything you're going to get is going to be a PDF. We call it the bill packet because it used to be an actual bill packet that legislators would get on their desk. So that's just what it ended up being called. But yes, it will be a PDF file that contains everything. And again, it will
Perfect,
always
thank
be
you.
the previous day. So when you get it, it will be from the previous day because bill history runs overnight on our system.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Looks like that is it for questions. So I want to say thank you again to everyone for joining us today. Thank you again, Paul, Emily, and Matt from Legislative Services Agency for your valuable presentation. And thank you to all of our attendees as well for joining us. We appreciate having some of your time. You'll receive an email sometime shortly with this webinar recording. And there will also be a feedback survey in there as well that we invite you to fill out, a webinar feedback survey. And then I'll also go ahead and, if it's okay with you all, send some of these, some links to some of these things that might be helpful for people, like creating an account and stuff like that. It looks like we might have, okay. It looks like that was a comment instead of a question.
Okay.
And so our next webinar is going to, go ahead. Did you?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. So our next webinar is going to be on, okay, sorry, thank you. So our next webinar is going to be on Tuesday, October 31st at 10 a.m. with Bug Crowd, and that's going to be covering crowdsourced security, generative AI, and more. So stay tuned for more information on that. And that'll be sent out, including the registration information, and then keep an eye on our social media and pay report as well. Again, thank you all, and I will be sending you an email with these resources. So.
All right. Thank you for putting this together, Ashley.
Thank you.